Welcome back to Living Local. Electrical problems can bite, and there are a lot of common issues that can pop up in your home. While some are harmless, others can be hazardous. In many cases, you can see, smell, or hear warning signs that it's time to call a professional. That professional joins us in studio. We have Jeff Lanham with the Electric Doctor. Thanks so much for being here again, Jeff.
It's great being back. Thank you, Brittany.
Okay, so Jeff, today we are going to walk through some red flags that there is a problem, the potential dangers it can pose, and then what we can do to fix it. So first of all, flickering or dimming lights, how can this be a cause for concern?
You know, it's our most common problem. People call and say, I've got some flickering, dimming lights. And so the reason that's a problem is there's something wrong with your wiring in the home. Loose connections, switches, your electrical panel, things like that. And it's the first stage of a larger problem. So flickering and dimming lights are an issue you should look at right away.
And is that something that we should call you for if we see it happening?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. And if we can diagnose it early enough, you can avoid problems. I brought some samples today. We're going to look at some bad problems.
Oh, yeah.
You can avoid those early by catching those flickering and dimming lights early.
Perfect. Now, if I'm having light bulbs that burn out frequently, why can that be dangerous?
You know, usually that means there's something wrong inside that light fixture. So a typical application is can lights, those smooth looking lights in your ceiling, right? The can light has heat envelope around it. Sometimes it's the attic insulation. Sometimes it's just the room between the two floors of your room, apartment, house, or whatever, and there's a heat element in there, and it can go off and on, but also that can fail. And then also there's a connection when you screw that bulb in. It's a tiny little connection, and those little arcing connections in there can be bad, and it's a future problem as well inside the can, inside your ceiling.
Got it. Now, Jeff, this is a problem that I've had really often, dead outlets, okay? And usually I just disregard it and find another outlet that works, but why can that kind of be a problem that people need to pay attention to?
Behind your outlet, in the box in your wall, there's usually connections, or we call them electrical joints, that are made with spring-mount connectors called wire nuts, is one application, and an old-fashioned application is called a solder-type connection, and even knob and tube wiring, which is a really bad application. And so if you have a dead outlet, it means you've got a problem back there that you're ignoring, and you're just simply moving on, but that problem exists because the joint is in there, it's getting warm, it's getting hot, and that's really the worst thing in an electrical system is a hot electrical wire.
Yeah, and speaking of hot, heat, warmth, what if I touch an outlet, it's warm, or a switch, it's warm to the touch?
That means that you've got a faulty switch or a faulty receptacle or outlet, and also, again, that is the heat behind that outlet coming out into the wall. So if you ever feel heat or anything like that, you certainly want to call somebody. There's a problem going on inside there.
Yeah, and speaking of that, sparking outlets or switches can be an obvious warning sign. If something's sparking in your home, you probably have an issue you want to deal with. So what might be causing that?
Well, I got a story. I like to bring stories in. Okay, so we had a little sparking outlet at the house, and of course the electrician doesn't always fix all his problems in the home, and I said, oh honey, that's going to be fine, that little arc. It's not okay. And so we went on with that for, I'd hate to say weeks, but we did. But eventually the sparks started coming out of the outlet, and that's really, really dangerous. So people don't think that the switches can go bad inside your house, but they actually do. And the components inside of it, the copper or the brass pieces that are inside of there, do go bad over time. And it's dependent on load. So if you have a large fan load, light load, things like that, that switch can go bad sooner than standard loads.
Right, and Jeff, so we've talked about you can obviously see problems happening with sparking and things like that, or dimming lights. You can also feel them with warm switches and outlets. You can also smell potential problems. Why should someone be concerned if they're noticing some funny odors?
Well, it's like you use all your senses, right? So now you're walking around, you're like, it smells like plastic burning or something like that. And it's plastic or rubber burning, and that's the wire nut. Something's happened where you're creating heat, and then things can start to burn actually. So if you smell a burnt component, you need to, probably the best thing to do is turn your power off to the house immediately. I would call the electric doctor right away. And then also we may advise you to call Mid-American Energy or your power supply power provider immediately as well, depending on what it is. But I'd be able to handle that with you over the phone when you call in. But do turn off your electricity if you smell burning wiring. So I actually have an example here if you want
Yes,
to take a look at it.
let's see it. It looks
So
gnarly.
yeah, this is a very common occurrence that we have. Now this is an extreme application, but we do several of these a year where this one actually caught on fire so bad that the breakers and everything in here just the heat got so intense that it caught on fire. This happens to be a very dangerous electrical panel, Federal Pacific electrical panel. They have not been around for years and years because of the type of breaker that they use. It just quickly they went out of business. This is what the panel looks like in its normal state.
Wow.
There's still thousands of these in the viewing area. And this is typically the way we find them, like this. We do try to talk the homeowner into taking them out in their normal state, like this here, but this is, usually we find it not nearly this bad, but it's the component in the backside, way back inside. That's what really starts to burn. That's when you start smelling the burnt smell, is way in the back, and you can't see it with your eye. So the breaker starts to burn, it starts to smell very pungent. And then eventually the wires will catch on fire. Just had one a few weeks ago on a Saturday. Went out and the panel was on fire, and we were able to take care of it pretty quickly. No big damage, but they were not home. They had just gone to have a meal, and they came back. They had animals in the house and things like that. So they're really happy that they caught it when they did. We got somebody over there immediately, took care of it, and then we actually got the repair done on Saturday as well.
Wow, just knocked it out. That's why it's so important when people do see warning signs that they give you a call as soon as possible. Now, Jeff, we've talked about seeing problems, hearing problems, smelling problems.
Yes.
You can also hear problems. So if there are buzzing sounds or just something that doesn't sound right, that can also be a warning sign that there's an electrical issue.
Right, all them senses again. Use what you're given. Yeah, the buzzing sound, it could be a multitude of things. Sometimes it's a ceiling fan motor that might be going bad. A lot of times it can be overloaded wires in the wall actually rattle when they're overloaded. That's a short duration, but sometimes you can hear it when it's happening. And then also overloaded switches and things like that tend to buzz as well. So it's a good thing to get those checked out for you right away.
So if people are experiencing any of the issues we've talked about today, they can call you. You also offer home inspections. So what happens during a home inspection?
During a home inspection, we're going to look at all the things that we talked about in these panels. We're going to make sure that all of the connections are secure, tight, and we also go outside and look at your incoming power, which is the electrical meter, the overhead drop, the underground feeder. We make sure those are all good for you as well, and also look at your outlets, your switches, your future use of your home, and make sure that everything is being used as designed, or that maybe some things need to be repaired that get discovered during the home inspection.
And quickly, any specials going on with home inspections right now?
You know what? We're offering them half price for the month of April. So give us a call, including this airing. We'll offer them half price through the month of April.
Awesome, Jeff. Thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it. All right, to get yourself a half-price electrical inspection, you can call the Electric Doctor at 563-823-4188. We'll have these details and more posted on ourquadcities.com. More Living Local electrifies on after this.